Thank you so much for being here this morning. Happy Easter. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
All right. It's exciting. It's an exciting day. It's a feast day. And, I don't know whether you are one of the people that I told the congregation here at St. Margaret's to invite to church this morning. I've told them for a number of weeks that 80 to 90% of people who do not have a church affiliation or denominational affiliation would go to church if they were invited. So I don't know whether you're here by invitation or whether you're just here for the Easter egg hunt or maybe the free bread and wine, but you're here and I want to thank you. And I want to say something to you that I have not said to my congregation before because you're such a great crowd. I want to say this, that if you're done listening before I'm done talking, you can go. All right? I'm not going to talk long, so I hope you enjoy this. Someone said to me a few weeks ago, they said, I don't go to church because there just seems to be too much hocus pocus. And they may have been talking about communion up there at the altar when we do that. But I chuckled at that because I thought to myself, I'm not a magician. We don't pull rabbits out of hats. It's not what we do in the church. But I have seen magical things happen here. So we don't do magic in church, but I've seen magical things happen. I've seen two people who have been fighting come up and take communion right next to each other on this altar rail, rubbing shoulders together. I've seen people wrestle with honesty and become honest with themselves about their own addiction. I've seen people who have been betrayed, lied to, hurt viciously by other people in the church, forgive and be forgiven, and be reconciled. So those are magical things that I see happening in the church, and I also see them happening around the world. And that's one of the reasons why I believe in the resurrection, because the resurrection might not have been magic, but I think it was magical. It was magical because it defies explanation. There's really no explanation for it. And the reading that we hear today from the gospel is mystery incarnate. The whole thing's mysterious. You have women going to the tomb to grieve, because the stone is already there. They're not going to anoint the body. They're going to grieve. They're going to cry. They're going to mourn. And we've all been there. We all know what that feels like when we leave the wake, we go home, we go upstairs, and we close the door, and we just fall down sobbing. That's the feeling that these women had. And they went to the tomb. And instead of being confronted with the reality of death, their eyes were open to this mystery. How, in God's good name, did this stone get rolled away? It is so huge. It's a mystery. But not only that, there's a guy sitting on it. Sitting up on the stone like, he's chewing cotton or something. But more than that, he's blindingly white. He is the whitest guy in Jerusalem. Right? And he's so blindingly white that the guards who were guarding the stone for fear that Jesus might actually be telling the truth and actually get out, they had all fallen down like dead men. We don't know what that means. Did they faint? Were they asleep? What does it mean? It's all a mystery. What he says, though, is more mysterious because he says to them, Jesus is raised. He's not here. You're looking for him. He's not here. He's been raised. He told me to tell you, go to Galilee, and that's where he'll see you. Now, if you're like me, you love revenge motifs in movies. All right, you love Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill, both volumes 1 and 2. And you think this really captures the Christian paradox of forgiveness. Maybe you don't think like me, I don't know. But I love revenge movies. And I love this final scene in The Godfather, the baptism scene. I just love scenes like that because people get justice. People get what they deserve. People get what's coming to them. And that's the way we think the world should work sometimes. Right? Because that way, things seem to make more sense. We can kind of control things that way. So what does Jesus say when he stops his disciples who are on the road to Galilee to meet him? He meets them on the way. He doesn't wait in Galilee. Why doesn't he wait in Galilee? He's told them, come to Galilee and see me, I'll be there. And then he goes back on that and he decides to meet him on the way. He's too excited. I'm convinced that he's so excited about what he's got to tell them that he's like, I can't wait anymore. I got to get out of Galilee. I'm going to go meet them. So he goes and meets them. And they fall down at his feet. And they grab his feet and they worship him. Right? And you can imagine the feeling. If you've ever messed with a gangster, and who here hasn't? If you've ever stolen money from a crook, if you've ever, kidded a kidder, you know that you're going to get yours. Right? That's why Jim Croce said, never tug on Superman's cape. Because you know you're going to get yours. Alright? So, they fall down on his feet and they're worshiping. And they're probably groveling. They're probably begging for mercy. And they're saying, oh, please don't hurt us. Please don't hurt us. We know we betrayed you. We know that we left you on the cross to die alone. We were so scared that it was going to be us instead. We were so worried, so we left. You can clearly understand that. We're really sorry, though. Please don't kill us. And Jesus says, tell my brothers that I am going to Galilee. It's like he was so excited to call them brothers. He was so excited to extend that title to them that he couldn't wait in Galilee. He had to get going. This is the God that we have. We have a God who is so ready to extend forgiveness. We have a God who is so ready to love unabashedly, unequivocally, and uncontrollably. We have a God whose arms are open wide to all of us, regardless of how much we believe, what we believe, or how we believe. This is the God that we have. The world is a confounding place. It can be horrible. It can be filled with terror. It can be filled with anger, killing, betrayal, and very, very ugly stuff. Today is a day when we focus on the love that has overcome that ugliness. Because we did the worst thing to Jesus. Betrayed him, killed him on a cross, killed by the state, executed. And God takes that and overcomes it with love. Instead of Jesus exacting retribution and looking for revenge, Jesus comes looking to love and forgive. What if we were to do that in our lives? What if we didn't keep score? What if we put down our weapons of snark and of sarcasm and of biting criticism and instead opened our hands and opened our arms in love? What kind of world would the place become? I'll close with a story that I read this week. In Iran, they do the most executions there of any country except for China. And there was a man who had stabbed someone 6 years ago, and he was scheduled to be hung. And as the noose was slipped over his head, the mother of the murdered son ran up to the gallows and slapped the murderer's face, weeping, sobbing uncontrollably, slapped his face. Her glasses fell to the ground. She bent down and picked them back up and looked at him, took the noose off. She had had a dream that her son spoke to her and said, I'm okay. I'm in a good place. You don't have to do anything for me. She took that as a sign of forgiveness. And so she was able to forgive her son's murderer. And there's this wonderful picture of the forgiven man's mother hugging her. And they're both just breaking down in sobs. And for me, that's the essence of the Easter story. That kind of love that God extends to us. That kind of unforgivable or unconditional forgiveness that God gives to us. That's not magic. It's not something that we say a few words up here at the altar or say some prayers in a choir. But it is magical. And it has and it will change the world. So may God work that love and work that forgiveness in your lives this Easter. Amen.